been a while since I have popped a process video up onto my YouTube channel, and Groundhog Day Hop is the perfect opportunity to do this. So for the last, this must be my 5th one, so for the last 4 years I have scrap lifted myself, and what I did in year 2 is I created a sketch of what that scrap lift might look like. So it's a couple of photos, it's sort of got this sort of scalloped or circular element here, it's got a little bit of mixed media or splattering, and a couple of embellishment clusters along with the journaling and the title. So each year it's a little bit different, so you can pop back and have a look at other process videos and or see if you can find this layout and the other pictures in my Instagram or Facebook pages, also called Scrappy Care. Now it's really cool seeing what everyone else does as they scrap lift themselves. I'm not sure if everyone does the same scrap lift every year or if they vary it. However, I've sort of stuck with the same layout design and worked with it. So this is what I'm going to be working with. These are the photos that I have chosen to pop into my layout. Normally I try to include some kind of self-portrait just so that there's an annual picture of that. I have chosen a couple of new collections. Now these are coming out shortly. As a Stampin Up demonstrator, I get access to things earlier than they're available to everyone. So there is a great sign-up deal if you want that opportunity too, but message me if you want more information. I am going to use a couple of paper collections. So I'm going to use a wood grain collection, and this one is called Wood Grain Wonders, and it's a 12 by 12 collection. There's lots of different kind of wood grainy nice textures and patterns that I think would sort of go along with most things. The next collection that I'm going to play around with is called Delicate Dreams, and it's got sort of a rose goldy shimmer paper, and I've just pulled out some of it from that collection that I thought would work. Some of the papers that I thought were quite nice that go with the photos that I've got. So I've tried to have ones that sort of go with it but enhance it. Quite liked this, it matched my pajama pattern, and these sort of natural woody colors, and absolutely love this one here. It kind of's got that really nice old school kitchen chair or kitchen table look. So looking forward to having a play around with these. I've also grabbed a couple of this is a bundle capturing smiles, so there's some dies that go with it and some stamps, and I thought I'd have a play with the new simple alphabet as well, and there is some natural matte dots that I just sort of thought brought this all together and tied in beautifully. So let's get started. First up, I'm going to add a little bit of mixed media or a bit of water texture in the background, just to copy that sort of splashing or that dotty, messy look that was on that sketch that I shared earlier. So I've just sort of squished the ink pad together. I'm just using a water brush, and I'm just sort of popping it on the page and dribbling it around. I decided I'm just going to use a little bit of packaging. I squirted this with a bit of water, again just using that same ink, and then splattered it around just to have that messy background look going on. And I'm going to bring in this colour as well, this blue, just to add a nice little bit of texture, and I'm just splattering that on the page and around. So it comes out in some nice big splatters. It has that sort of nice messy, not so neat and tidy, it's no more just a piece of white cardstock. I've grabbed these 2 photos, and they were of our first night in our camper, which is something we've sort of got a hold of this term off school. So I have been teaching at the same school for the last 16 years and decided that this term I would take a bit of a break and pick up a new entrant class in term 2 of the year. So that essentially means I've got a little bit of time off, I've got a bit more weekend time. My husband works from home on a Monday, and he can work from the camper on a Monday as well. So we're able to get out and have a few more adventures. We've also got some renovations happening to the house in March, so we will be able to temporarily live in the camper until those are finished. So what I've done is I've gone and cut these gorgeous papers up to sort of fit and follow that sketch that I shared. These are little pieces that I'm tucking in behind the photos. I've cut them to 4x6. The photos kind of measure 3x3 inches, and I've just layered them up. Now, the very first year that I did this Groundhog Day hop, I used a single doily. So this year I've brought out 3 doilies. I've brought 2 larger ones and 1 smaller. These came out a wee while ago. That I think they might have been part of the online exclusives with Stampin Up, and they were just a great choice to pull in there to give that sort of circle scalloped look. Now I've grabbed some scrap pieces of, I think it's white Willow cardstock, and I'm just going to stamp some of these captured stamps on there, including this big sort of camera, as well as the front of the lens that's going on there as well, and a few other bits and pieces, including what I thought initially was a tag, and then I realized the bits on it kind of match the camera, and they do layer up, and you'll see that coming together in a little bit once I've done all of these die cuts. So just cleaning the stamps in between. I've used the Memento ink, so it's quite a nice black, and if I do choose to color in the camera, I can. I'm not quite sure at this point whether I'm going to sort of leave it as a white camera or not. I've gone ahead and done the die cuts. I've also sort of cut these sort of slide frames or negatives, as the case may be, just to pop in as extra embellishments, as well as these sort of 4 pieces. Now these 4 fit nicely in behind those negatives, and they've just sort of got a couple of images on them, as well as some text that can pop in there. So I've chosen to use the text that says photo op. Now you can see that camera lining up there nicely. I'm also not sure if I'm going to pop something into the center or not. That'll be quite a cool spot to put a photo or something small, and perhaps one of those little square images that I've just popped into the negatives as well. So now I'm just sort of layering these into where it might work, fitting with those sort of 3 embellishment cluster ideas that were from that initial sketch. I'm going to bring in another little stamp here, and this is the mini camera, and I'm going to stamp this sort of 5 times in the 5 different colors. So it's important to use the chamois in between times just to clean that ink pad off, and popping those on there. Now the color I'm about to use, that's Secrecy, I do decide to use my cloud cover ink pad. Now this is one that isn't able to be purchased in general. The color it wasn't consistent, so I was able to purchase one as a demonstrator, but you can get ink cubes and ink them up with the cloud cover, and they work really well as well. But I do quite like the sponginess of the Stampin' Up ink pads. So I'm just using the it's the Balmy Blue blend there, just to add a few more splatters around. It's a really fine detailed splatter in there before I'm going to stick down all of the pieces. So it is a little bit crooked, which you may or may not be able to see with the angle of this camera, but because I'm going to wrinkle up the papers, it doesn't actually show obviously in the end. So now I'm just going to mat the photos on another sort of piece of that scrap white willow and trim them down to fit, just to give them a little bit of lift and a little bit of separation from those patterned papers that I'm going to be putting in the background. Now this green tombow is nice and fresh, so it's actually got lots of bits coming out there. It's really nice using a fresh tombow and just sticking them down sort of on that page in that background. And there are these gorgeous papers. I have just used the tape runner to stick them down, sort of similar to what that initial sketch looks like, and the photos will be layered on top. Now I decided I'm going to pop the photos up a little bit, and I'm using lots of the leftover dimensional pieces, so the outside edges, don't throw these away. They make great sort of 3D foam backing for our photos, just to give them that little bit of lift without having lots of individual pieces to stick and peel off. And I realized that I should have done the left-hand photo first, because I'm going to sort of pop the portrait or the self-portrait photo on top of it, like so. So there we have our photos stuck down, and I am now gluing together that camera and putting all of those pieces in place, ready to stick that down up the top. So you'll see over to the left there, I went ahead and I die cut all of those little cameras as well as the hearts from the various pieces of patterned paper, and I am just going to glue these sort of negatives or these slide frames down onto the layout, and then I'm going to put these pieces on top. I should have thought ahead with that and worked out a way to tuck them in behind with a bit more precision, but they work just fine sat on top. So there is those little pieces, and now it's sort of time to stick down the wee cameras as well as sort of pop the little hearts on. So I'm using the normal size dimensionals for the cameras, and then I'm going to use the little mini dimensionals to stick down the hearts. They fit quite comfortably on there. Another little trick I should have used with these is cut the hearts with the foam adhesive behind. However, I actually cut 3 at once, so I layered up the hearts and sort of 3 pieces of paper and then put the heart die cut, so I was able to get 3 at once. Now I'm using here the new stamp positioning tool that Stampin' Up has come up with, and I am quite impressed with how well it works. So I was able to line it up, I was able to ink it up and stick it directly on the page, and I felt quite brave doing it. Sometimes when we use the stamp blocks and we don't get a good impression, I know I'm sort of stuck, because as soon as I go back over it, it adds a shadowing or something else. But with that positioning tool, if I'd mucked it up, I could have just re-inked it and stuck it down again, or made sure I put pressure on the part that hadn't been inked. Now I've gone ahead and cut out one of those little pieces that fit nicely on the camera from one of the wood grain papers and stamped it, and I am putting my journaling onto that. So it's sort of got a multi-purpose. It can look like a tag as well as being a part of the camera. So now I'm just going to add these nice little dimensionals just to pop them around the page, and I'm using a big one and a small one from each of these colors. So there we have my Groundhog Day layout. I hope you've enjoyed this, and please visit all of the others.